Welcome to Mysterious Goings On. We're going to get right to the show after these messages. You know, we talk to a lot of authors, a lot of writers, and I love it. It's one of the favorite things for me to do Mysterious Goings On that I've done now. My gosh, since, can you believe it? 2016, we've been doing it. And the past 2 or 3 years in particular, we've been really heavy on interviewing the people who make the magic, who the creators of worlds and destroyers of worlds and all that stuff. I think it's really important, though, to check in with the people who consume what writers produce, and not just people who are the occasional reader. I want to talk to probably the prototypical constant reader. He's probably the biggest constant reader I know, and we've known each other virtually for years, and I'm very, very happy that he's read my work and likes my work, or used to. I don't know. He's probably mad at me because I don't have a new book out, but I'm really glad to have him here because his name is Michael Zuffa. He's a great guy. He's been on the show before. We talked Trek last year, and we've talked about some other stuff previously, but he's great. But what we're going to talk about today, though, is he is as I said, a constant reader. He's a huge Stephen King fan. And he just went off on this odyssey in the year 2020. So I want to just stop yakking and welcome Mike to the show. Michael Zuffa, welcome to Mysterious Goings On.
Thank you, Alex. Good to be back.
Yeah, it is good to be back. So what did you do? Where did this idea come from? Because all I know is early last year, I see on your Insta, on Twitter, I see a picture of a King book and one of the little, little toy things and hashtag constant reader. And I'm like, what's he doing? And then I said to myself, I know damn well he's read that book at least once. So what were you doing?
Well, I was going through Stephen King's books for a third time. I had actually just finished in like 2017, my second pass through, and I was going to go on to another series I meant to reread, but then The Dead Zone came out on audiobook, and I was like, well, I want to listen to that first, and Pet Sematary was also recently out on audiobook, so I'm like, I want to get through those, and then I'm going to go on to this other thing, and I got through those, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it all again. And so that other series got pushed off. That'll be starting probably in the next month or so for me. But yeah, so it took me 89. Yeah, it took a couple years to get through it all, and I went through it all on audiobook this time around. Some of them are excellent. Some are, not excellent. Depends on who you get. Not everybody reads stuff well.
Yeah. You'd think though that whoever's reading King would be, killer. But I do know that's true. Every now and then you get an audiobook and the reader just like, they don't get into it the way you wish they would. But so you read everything then, right? Yeah. The entire oeuvre, the whole thing, right?
From Carrie to I'm Carrie through the Institute, basically.
Wow. So that would
read with my ears,
right, which is good. Yeah. But so we're talking all the later stuff, the Outsider, Duma Key, some of those other things. Although I guess the Duma is not really that recent, is it anymore? My goodness.
No, time flies. That's a good decade old now. Plus.
You know what I want to ask you a big question, and then I'd love it if you don't mind, if we could maybe ask you to maybe rank. Maybe you could do a top 10 and rank.
I could do a top 10 for you.
Could you do that? Oh, good. Well, let me ask you.
Because you asked nicely.
Well, that's what I do here on Mysterious Goings On. I ask nicely. No, Michael. So, okay. So this is the third reread of the entire canon, the oeuvre, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got it on the top of your head, we can talk about some of the books you like, obviously a top 10. Have things changed much since the first read as far as what you prefer and what you really like to now?
Well, it's funny because I never had a top 10 list, and part of the thing of when I decided to go through it a third time was like I'm going to put together a list because I see people on, like you said, on Instagram, friends that are always listening, and I think, wow, I mean, I've read them, I have them in my head, but a reread would help settle things, a little bit. So when I started out this third time around, I made a conscious effort to continually throw the books into a ranking. Uh, and voila, I came up with a list. So, and I would say, looking at it, these are always all books I've liked quite a bit. One surprised me um, quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
So I guess I wouldn't have thought that would have been in my top 10, but um, I don't see how it couldn't have been at
Right.
this point, because it's that good. And I'll let you know what that is when we get to it.
Yeah, because I don't know how old you are, but I mean, you're not as old as me.
46. No, you're
How-
older. So much older.
I'm so much older.
46.
Are you really? You're
46.
46. Okay, and you first read King. How old were you when you first started reading King?
I was on vacation with my parents in Maine, of all places,
Hmm.
and it was grade school, so I'm going to say 7th grade, maybe 6th grade. And I had comics. I was a big comic reader back in the day, and I burned through them. And my mom's like, "Here, read this," and she gives me Skeleton Crew to shut me up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there you go. My first experience was The Mist, and the rest of that book. So yeah, I always have a soft spot in my heart for The Mist.
All right. Well, very good. But then I just wanted to kind of get
And
that
then
because as we
then
go
I
through this,
grab
right. But I mean, as you gradually read them throughout your teenage years and into adulthood. But I'm just, that's why I'm interested, because as we grow older, our experiences change, our perceptions change. And a lot of stuff that I read when I was that age, if I reread it now, I'm like, oh my God, I missed so much that was thrown
right.
at me. Right. And how does the 7th grader really identify with Johnny Smith in the Dead Zone? You really can't, other than he was a teacher. So when I read that, I didn't read it till I was a sophomore in high school real quick. And I just remember thinking like of my favorite teacher and how that would be if that happened to him, right? Because how would I know what that was like to be an adult who has his whole life taken away and gets weird powers? Okay. All right. So that said, if you've got them in your mind, let's just say, hey, let's get on with the countdown. We'll do Casey Kasem. Just keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Number 10. What is it?
11/22/63.
Ooh, hike.
Thanks to the movie JFK, I've been a assassination kind of buff when it comes to this. So Stephen King, JFK assassination, good combo, right?
Right.
I loved it. And there's it's more to it than that. It's more of a, I think it feels like a love story very much with Sadie.
Oh yeah.
You get a side quest into Derry and meet some of the kids from it, which was completely unexpected. The only thing I would say against this one is that Stephen King tends to write. He kind of has something in his head, and he sees where the story takes him. This one did, to me, if I had one complaint about it, it did feel like he had bench posts he had to hit because of its being based in history, and I personally felt that, like, he's, it kind of changed, I think, the way he wrote and stuff. But I thought this one was really great. I wasn't terribly surprised by the ending. I guess that seemed about right for whatever reason,
right?
Without giving anything away. Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I can say the miniseries on Hulu is pretty solid too.
I saw that. I thought it was good too. I agree. And pretty faithful to the book. And,
yeah, it's they condensed and
right.
But yeah. I was very pleased with that. I was very pleased with that.
He has this way of the premise hooks you, of course, the which, again, we're not going to do spoilers here, but the premise of this, beyond the JFK angle, but the way the lead character accesses that event is that, I mean, he always gets me with something like that, and then I'm hooked. I've got to just see how that goes, and then I've got to see, how is this going to F this guy up for doing it, and then
Right.
he doesn't fail to deliver. I got to say, I would say it's one of my top King books. So okay,
Nice.
moving along. So number 9, then what would that be based on your
That would
latest
be
read?
the Dark Tower 3, The Wastelands.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna be straight up with you, man. I've never read the Dark Tower stuff.
Blasphemer.
Yeah, is it really that good? Is it really that good?
It really is that good.
Wow.
Some books are better than the others.
Yeah.
But it is very good, and this is one where a lot of stuff's happening. After the second book, the whole team's together, and like at this point, they're full on their journey to the Dark Tower. Save the universes, multiverse, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going down in here, and each time I've reread this, I get into this book, and I'm like, I forget how much stuff is actually going on here. There's just really so much happening, a lot of action, really a lot of character development. And this son of a bitch, let me tell you something. From the Tommyknockers on, I was reading, I got the first editions when they came out. And this one was after the Tommyknockers, and I got it. And the thing ends on a cliffhanger. And it's like 5 years, 6 years before the next book comes out.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
And it left you hanging, and it drove me nuts. It drove me nuts.
Is it kind of a modern day Lord of the Rings, or is that too simplistic?
It's a little bit Western. It's a little bit fantasy. It's a little bit sci-fi. It's a little bit, a little bit of everything, honestly.
Yeah.
It really is. And it works.
Now, I tried to get through the film. It just didn't work for me. Any thoughts on that?
I don't hate it, but it's not good.
Okay.
There's something they were doing there that I appreciated, but I don't want to, if you've read the books and you're familiar with the movie, that it wasn't a straight up adaptation. And to be fair, you can't get 7 books into one movie.
Yeah.
You'd be honestly struggling to get one of these books into a movie, but they were doing they were coming at it from a little bit different angle. So it's not even, in some sense, they were taking bits and pieces of things and putting them together. And I can't tell you why, because it would be a spoiler for the Dark Tower series.
Well, it sounds to me like this would be better served to be like a limited series, like The Outsider or The Stand.
Possibly, but the 6th book, Song of Susanna, establishes that from the first book to then was about a year, and one of the characters in the book is like 12, so that essentially makes a faithful adaptation almost impossible, unless you're going to somehow get through 6 books. Well, the kid's still around the 12, 13, because once he hits a point, he's going to start looking a lot older, and him being a kid is part of, you don't want him being an adult. You don't want him aging out, basically. It'd be difficult.
Well, like Harry Potter, I mean,
yeah, you don't even want him aging that much, though. Like I said, 6 books, he ages a year in 6 books.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, so
but who knows?
All right. So, okay. So that's the Wastelands, which is book 3, you say? Which book is it?
Book 3.
Okay. So, and that's the Dark Tower. Is it called a series? The Dark Tower.
The Dark Tower book 3.
Saga, whatever it is. And okay. It's on my list. It's not my go-to first, but it's on my list. So
the first book in the series is, if you make it through the first one, okay, you're good to go.
Okay. That's what I tell people about mine. Okay, here we go. Now here's one that people, even if they haven't read it, I have a feeling that this next one. I mean, I'm thinking it's got to be one of about 4 on your list. I mean, I'm just see
Probably.
because we're down to like number 8 on your list, so I'm just sitting here thinking this has got to be like one of the ones everybody's heard of by now. We're getting into that territory, unless you're just going to totally play it, you know, the obscure out of the box game. So hit me with it. What's number 8 on your list?
Shining, Alex.
Oh, of course, The Shining. Wow, it's a little actually a little higher on the list than I expected. I thought it'd be closer to your top 3 or 4. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I here's the thing about making a list like this. There's so many damn good books.
Right,
And it's
right.
like something's got,
Yeah.
something's got to fall off the list. I actually have a list of like about 17 here, and they're all solid books, and some of them just can't make it. Some of them just
Yeah.
can't make the top 10.
Yeah,
Not because they're bad.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
It's
and
got
that's the thing.
70, it's got like 60, 70 books.
Yeah, we should be very clear here that if it's not mentioned on his list, it's not that, like you just said, Michael, not that you hate him or anything or don't like it. And I do want to ask later if there's a book that you really don't like.
I can tell you probably 3 or 4. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll do that at the end because that's always kind of fun because I've got a few I read that I was like, oh yeah, but let's see if it could be funny if the ones I read that I didn't care for are on this list. So we'll see. So The Shining. Now, this is famous, of course, because there was a film and then a miniseries. The film by Kubrick, King hates because he doesn't believe that Jack Torrance really has any. He thinks that Nicholson played him like he was crazy from moment one, which I kind of get.
Yeah.
Whereas Steven Weber, when he did it in the TV series, he was a nice guy with problems who became demented and evil and all that. So there's that. But we're not really talking about that. But we're talking about the book. So what aspects of The Shining make it one of your top 10?
It's just a creepy, haunted hotel story. It's got so much atmosphere. The hotel, the Overlook, is a character. I mean, even more so in the movie. But it's it's and just kind of his descent into madness as the hotel takes him over. It's
me too.
It's really great. It's just so good.
but then he's basically admitted too. This is a book about alcoholism.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was an alcoholic, and this was where he was starting to figure out I've got a problem. And there's a couple of books that really kind of get at that, but this one. But then Kubrick in the movie really makes it on the nose too, with all those scenes like in the hotel bar, and which I think are great. But I'm not knocking it. I mean, I love Kubrick as a filmmaker, so I think the film's perfectly great. But I got to admit, when you read the book, the Kubrick film is all ice, whereas King, it's all fire. At the end, which is wow.
Absolutely, and I should say too, Dr. Sleep, the sequel. I like that book quite a bit, but the movie is amazing.
Now, have you seen the cut, the new cut, or are you talking about the?
Yes, I'm talking about both.
Okay, I have
not seen the director's cut.
Okay, I haven't seen the director's cut. I had not read the book, Michael, and I was blown away by that movie. I loved it.
He did. Mike Flanagan, the director, somehow managed to make a sequel to both the book and the movie. When the book and the movie of The Shining, when they both had different endings, and they rebuilt that whole damn set.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
He's a great director. I will watch anything he does. He did Haunting of Hill House, that miniseries, and Bly Manor. Oh yeah, and Gerald's Game.
Yes. Oh, that was Carla Gugino, right? Oh yeah.
Yes, it was.
Oh boy. That I have not read Dr. Sleep, but if like I say, if the movie is any reflection on the source material, I need to
highly recommend it.
All right. So that's number 8, The Shining. Well, then we got Nowhere to Go But Up. So what's next?
Pet Sematary. Who doesn't like a story about a dad bringing his dead boy back to life.
It's on that Micmac burial ground. I can't do the Mainer
Sometimes,
accent.
Lewis, dead is better.
Very nice. The late Fred.
Fred Gwynn, that again, movie, I highly recommend the original movie, not the remake.
Mhm.
But the book is great. The book is great. Messed up in the
Yeah.
best way. And,
Yeah.
I'd read somewhere that he was like, no, I can't even publish this thing.
Yeah.
And he did. And it's great. I think it's one of the more shocking of his stories.
Yeah.
But you kind of, what would you do? I don't know. I don't have a kid, so I can't,
Well, I was
say,
gonna,
but
yeah, but I was gonna say, Michael, that I do, and I gotta admit, this is so funny you said this, but I like the movie a lot. Lots, there's parts of it I like better than other, but I like the movie overall, and I've read the book. But then it came on around Halloween time a couple of years ago, and my daughter's 12 now. I couldn't really watch it. I found it. It's too heartbreaking for me. I guess because really, that's why. And I have a terrible time writing about people hurting children
Mhm.
or anything anyway. Although in Pilot's Blood, that nearly happens. But the point being, that's kind of one of those books I probably am not going to revisit anytime soon. But I can
Yeah.
appreciate why you like it, because you're going from. It's so funny because on your list here, so I've been making notes here. So you got an assassination plot point in the first book in the JF, 11/22/63. Then you're going to go off on a fanciful fantasy related kind of story with the Wastelands. Then you're going to go to the haunted house scary story of The Shining. And now though, you're going into the greatest horror that a parent can have,
Yeah.
which is the loss of a child. And you asked the question, just rhetorically, you said, what would you do? Well, you'd do anything, probably,
Yeah.
especially. So
And the great thing, too, as you're reading this, at no point do you think it's going to go well. I
yeah,
mean,
especially after the
I
cat
at
comes
least
back,
I never did. It's like, sometimes that is better. That's the truth. You can't bring back what you've lost, and really, and it goes poorly for him.
Yes. Yeah, it really does. But yeah, you would have thought that the cat, the test case with the cat would have
Be
kind of
a
clued
red
him in.
flag. We're
But
waving.
but do you know my favorite part of the book, though, really, honestly, was when they tell the story of the what I'm talking about, the boy from another family who they brought back,
Yeah.
and that story and how that creeped me out. That was very much like Out of the Monkey's Paw, I thought, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that part of the book, I was like, oh wow. That I remember reading that section, and I was saying to myself, I read it, gosh, in college, and I thought, man, if I could write something like that, just that part alone, man, because that is so flippin'
Right.
scary, and creepy.
Yeah.
But okay, so Pet Cemetery, okay, I respect. I don't know where we're going here, though. I don't think I expected that one to be in your top 10. So lay it on me. What's
Well,
your number
how could that
6?
not be in anybody's top 10? I would
I
say.
don't know. I don't know. See, like I said, I've got a prejudice against it now because it's just too close
Right.
to home for me. I don't want to. I don't even
Right.
want to think about it. But yeah. So what's next?
Number 6 for me is Gerald's Game.
Oh,
Maybe slightly controversial to some, as a top 10 choice. But I, first time through, thought this book was creepy as hell.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
I got my wife to read it.
yeah.
She was looking early on after in our first few years of being together. She wanted a recommendation. I recommended that, and she said, "I will never read that book again." I did not like that book at all.
It's
it
yeah.
it made me feel very uncomfortable. I said, "So almost like a horror novel, huh?" Shut up, Mike.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, just the basics of it. I think anybody will know this, right? I mean, you could just tell everybody, just give us like the Cliff's notes on what we're walking
well,
into when we read it.
Jesse Burlingame and Gerald, her husband, like to sometimes go up to a cabin in the Maine woods and play what she calls Gerald's game, where he handcuffs her to the bed, and they mess around. And she decides after she's handcuffed that she just not really into it this time around. She kicks him. He has a heart attack and dies. And she's stuck there, chained to the bed, in the middle of nowhere, with only, I guess, her thoughts to keep her company. And her thoughts are not pleasant. And she has to deal with some past issues that maybe her mind has pushed aside. And she also has to get out of there if she doesn't want to die.
Right.
It's messed up. It's messed up.
It's very messed up. And the film with Carla Gugino, who's I've always just loved. I think she does a really great job in the film.
Oh, yes. And I got to say, there's one scene from that book that is imprinted on my brain.
Oh.
From the first time I read it. You know what scene it is. It's the scene from, Yes. And I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible to see. And you know what? It was terrible to see.
It was terrible to see. It, yes. And
it was as bad, if not worse, than I mentally pictured it all those years.
I was literally, believe it or not, I mean, here I am, grown man, right? Past middle-aged man, basically, looking through my fingers in front of my eyes. It's that kind of scene.
I looked at my watch and she said, "No, you watch this."
Yeah, that's right. No, you watch this.
Again, Mike Flanagan, director of Dr. Sleep.
Right.
I would watch, like, literally anything he puts out, I will watch at this point.
Yeah, well, it's
and if it's Stephen King, even better.
There you go. Yeah, definitely watch Gerald's Game. Okay, cool. So we're on the top 5. Again, I'm looking at my notes: 11, 22, 63, then The Wastelands, The Shining, Pet Cemetery, and now number 6 is Gerald's Game. Okay, we're down to the top 5 here for
top 5.
Mike. Hey folks, we're going to take a quick break in the episode. I probably mentioned here and there that I have another podcast called PR After Hours. PR After Hours is basically an after-hours virtual lounge where public relations, marketing, and general business professionals get together and have a laid-back conversation about what they do and how we can help each other. It's great tips if you're running a business or if you're part of a PR or marketing team or you own your own business. I guarantee you'll learn a lot of stuff. It's a twice weekly show. We've been doing it for a year now. Very proud of it, and you can get it right here on AnchorFM or pretty much wherever you get quality podcasts. But if you want to learn more information about PR After Hours, please visit prafterhours.com. I hope you'll check it out. It's a little bit different vibe, obviously, than Mysterious Goings On, but also I think if you're not careful, you might learn something and have a laugh or two as well. Thanks so much. Again, that's PR After Hours on AnchorFM. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, huh? Not quite Mysterious Goings On, listeners. You probably haven't got the brand new Mysterious Goings On official t-shirt. This is a quality cotton t-shirt coming in a premium unisex tee version and a women's slim fit tee version in all the sizes you could possibly need. These are great quality shirts coming in a variety of colors, including dark heather gray, black, charcoal, maroon. The women's t-shirt, we come in dark heather gray, black, charcoal, indigo, and midnight navy. There you go. Check them out. They are in the show notes. The link is right there. They're being sold on Bonfire. They're typically sold in batches, and they'll come at you pretty quickly. All the instructions are on the website. The link is in the show notes here or at mgopod.com. Again, show the world, well, at least show the world on Zoom, or show the world when we can finally really get out and about. Show the world that you have some mysterious goings-ons of your own by wearing our t-shirt, and help support this show. Thank you so much. What do we got next?
Bag of Bones. This is actually one I've read like 4 times, to be honest. I like it so much. It's a very good ghost story.
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's got great atmosphere. Mike Noonan, mourning the loss of his wife, retreating to his, cabin on the TR, and gets dragged into another family's drama, as well as some ghosts.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of good stuff here. I mean, I love this book. I love this book.
I think, you know what, I think I'm wrong. I think I thought I read it, but I think I just seen the Pierce Brosnan film.
That is
that unfortunate?
So sad. I love this book, and that just made me so sad. I like Pierce Brosnan. That miniseries was not good.
It really wasn't, was it?
It broke my heart. It was so bad.
Oh.
And again, for how much I love this,
Yeah, so I wish I had read the book first, because I kind of watched it, and because just like you, I like Pierce Brosnan. I think he always brings a very good performance. But after it was over, I was like, I don't think I'd read that book. But I should know better, because King's work is very rarely, it's better lately, but it's very rarely translated properly to film or TV.
Right. And that broke my heart, Alex. I'm still bitter about it after all this. I am. I was so disappointed.
Well, okay. Well, that's Bag of Bones, and I get that. So you're telling me maybe add it to my stack, and put the movie or the miniseries out of my head and just read it. Okay. All right.
That disappointed me more than the Dark Tower movie. That's it really did.
That's pretty,
because I kind of knew what I was getting with the Dark Tower. I was hopeful on that one, but anyway.
Yeah, word got out about that, though. I mean, you couldn't escape it. Everybody was just like, stinker, I think was what they kept saying. Which is
even going into, I keep my ear to the pulse of what's coming, so I knew enough about it going into it that even before the reviews started coming, I started to see which way things were turning.
Right.
But Bag of Bones, that was before the interwebs, and it, in any meaningful way. And that one was a sucker punch. I was disappointed. Cow.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like that's your that's your JJ verse Star Trek. How I feel about that stuff. It's like, don't screw with my stuff. I love this, and you messed it up. That's how you feel, and I get it.
It's my Star Trek into darkness.
Into dog mess. All right. So that's right. Bag of Bones is number 5. So here we go. Number 4. I am on pins and needles here. Which one is it?
Dead Zone. The Dead Zone. And let me tell you something. This is the one I would have not put in my top 10 going into this. And it was, like I said, the first one that I checked out this time around. And it's awesome. I mean, I knew it was awesome, but it was like really awesome.
Yeah.
Like this time, for whatever reason. It's and I'm not saying we have questionable politicians and positions of power. It's timely.
It is.
Even though it was written in the late 70s. It's timely in 2020 and 2021.
It really is.
The movie is good.
Yeah, that's
the
Cronenberg,
TV show, right? Cronenberg and
Chris Walken.
Christopher Walken. The TV show I would throw out there as a recommend. There's like 5 seasons with Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah.
It works.
I never really got into it. I watched a little. I didn't think it was bad. It's just one of those things I didn't. David Ogden Stiers was in it, was he not?
Yes, he was.
Well. Yeah, I love him. Well, now, just so you know, this is my all-time favorite Stephen King book. It's one of the first I read, and I love the film. In fact, it's so funny. You like to find a good GIF, like when you're online or something, and like every time, like something. Speaking of politics, it's happened where it's very clear that certain bad actors knew what they were doing and they screwed it up. I always want to find Walken with the police officer who's not a good guy's mother, and he grabs her by the shoulders and he looks at her because he's got the second sight now. You knew. And and I always want to do that. I always want to use that gif. You knew, and in that inimitable Chris Walken way. I found this book very moving. Again, I read it in high school, but and I could not access the full adult parts of it, I guess, but I could certainly access, how this poor guy just didn't do anything to deserve any of this. And then he's put in the horrible position of doing something that will never truly be understood by anybody but himself in order perhaps to save the world.
Well, Stephen King wanted to write a story to kind of humanize the assassin, I guess, without giving too much away. I think everybody knows probably what this is about.
Yeah.
And they named him John Smith, just an everyman. And he does. I mean, like, to the outside world, Johnny's crazy. He tried to kill a political candidate.
Greg Stilson,
but told, reading the story, he is, the hero.
Yeah.
Without even killing the bad guy.
He managed to do it without. I mean, sorry, folks, if you haven't read it, read it anyway. It's really good.
30 years old, 30 plus years old.
We're not on the hook for this, and so don't get mad at us. Just go read it. If you read it once and haven't read it in 30 years or whatever, it's worth going back to, because you said this is one, like we talked about earlier. I asked you, did anything surprise you? So this surprised you how it leapt over. But do you think it really is because it's so timely seeming now? Is that what?
No, I just think it's really a great book, and it's not one I go to mentally when I'm thinking of the best, even though it's up there. It's not showy like something like Pet Sematary or The Shining, because I mean, is it a horror story? I mean, it is, but he's not the horrible guy. It's the horror comes from the Mr. Stilson,
right?
You know what I mean? There's some. It's a little more grounded in reality. If you can accept his sight as legit, whatever, there's not anything supernatural beyond that. I mean, it's just he has this extra gift, and he sees this terrible thing, and he just needs to do what he can to make it right.
Yeah, of course, Johnny Smith just gift. This is not a gift. It's a curse, and I love that. But anyway, so folks, if you're looking for, it's a little offbeat, of course, but I think it's a great heroic story. It's a great love story, heartbreaking too. The film I recommend very much. I watched it again, actually in October for the first time in years. I watched it for Halloween, and just loved it. David Cronenberg did a great directing job, and it had
and Martin Sheen. He's good at it with his shit-eating grin.
So good.
He's a slime ball, and you don't doubt that for a second.
Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yeah. And I can totally support this as being your number one. I would not second guess. I wouldn't criticize that in the least. I mean,
thank you, because it's kind of. I think it's fairly obscure though to a lot of people. In the King canon of books, right. I think it's
like I said,
off to the side.
It doesn't have it's not flashy, like I said, like the other stories.
Right.
It kind of lets it get under the radar a little bit, but it's amazing. Yeah,
and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the incomparable Brook Adams, who's in the movie, who I had a huge crush on back in school. She was wonderful. She's married to Tony Shalhoub, by the way, of Monk fame. Yeah,
from Green Bay, Wisconsin, my home state.
Really? Hey now.
What?
Hey now. Tell you.
Just dropping knowledge left and right.
We're dropping knowledge. Okay, well, that's number 4. It's my number 1, but it's your number 4, and I salute you, because I just didn't think you're going to say it, because I know you would have said to me, "Oh, I like that one, but it's not my top 10." So I was kind of cheered to hear that. So we're into the top 3 here. So I have no idea now where you're going here with this. next one. I'm not sure. So just lay it on me. Drop some more
Number three
knowledge.
for me. Number three for me is Duma Key.
Oh my
Another one
God.
from the aughts.
I read this one and I loved it.
Yes.
Loved it.
I love this in the way I love Bag of Bones. In the same way, to an extent. Also kind of a ghost story.
Yeah.
But this one is also, I think, the heart of it is a story of friendship.
Yeah, the wireman.
And recovery, I think. Physical, mental recovery.
Right. I think we know where that came from,
art,
right?
Yeah, it's got an art vibe to it.
Yeah, the painting.
That might draw some people in.
Why is it not a movie yet?
I don't know, but I don't want it to be shitty. I would love Mike Flanagan to make. I would love Mike Flanagan to make this into a movie.
Yeah. I thought it was, Michael. I thought it was cinematic as I read it. I just kept seeing it as a film.
I can picture it in my head right now. The little pink, them walking down the beach. I could picture Wireman, and Edgar in my head. I can picture so many parts of this book. I just love it. But I think what really gets it for me is the friendship.
Yeah, I agree.
Part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that really, especially it spoke to me when I first read it, and it continues to with, each additional read. I love this book. It's so good. And I think if it gets made into a movie, I hope it's
got to. Yeah, I know. I gotta say, and this one, it was very evident where King got this and I appreciated that because I'm not terribly imaginative at times, and I have to have some life experience kick me in the, to get me to get something going. But I know that he had right around that time started going wintering in Florida, so he had a big beach house. And he also was fresh off of, or more or less recovering from that horrific near-death experience, being hit by a van. So I think a lot of those things come to a head in this story. I think those are some pieces of his real life that he kind of used. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's
absolutely. I mean, you mean write what you know, I guess. If you get something traumatic like that, you can put into words. And he writes well.
Yes.
So I think he conveys, the suffering, both physical and emotional, that he's going through. Edgar, that is. Fortunately, Steve didn't lose his arm and his wife. Or his life. But I think he really did channel that, and I think that is part of what makes this book so solid.
No arguments there. Douma Key, number 3. Now let's get to number 2 here.
Hey, would you believe my top 1 and my number 1 and number 2 have kind of flip-flopped over the years? They've both always been up there, but kind of what mood am I in? That determines what's 1 and 2. But this time through, I really settled in on a solid number 1. It'll take a lot to push that one out. So my number 2 is It. He writes children well. The story the novel is very intricate in that it goes back and forth between kids and adults, jumping around the timeline. It also has some little interludes or side stories that provide backstory, and he kind of brings it all together in a way that works very well. And who doesn't love a clown? Who doesn't love a clown?
I love them far
Again,
less.
My wife.
He's taken some heat for there's a scene amongst, you know what I'm talking about, right? There's the scene amongst
am I gonna make you say it, Alex? Yes, there's
I'm
a scene towards the end. There's a scene towards the end. I feel I completely understand. I feel like it is written, I guess, as well as it can be written. I think he's trying to convey the love that kids have for each other. And I, when I read that part, I see that. I don't see the other.
Yeah.
Although the
And
other is definitely what's going on. Um,
yeah.
it was Bev trying to do what she can to bind them.
Yeah.
Could it have
Yeah.
been? Could they have done? Could he have done something different? Yeah, he probably. I think he said he would do something different today. The movie skipped over it wisely.
Yes.
Uh, but I just
Well,
see love. I see love when I read that.
no,
So
and I listen. I think it's an abused, broken little girl who.
yeah,
This is how she really. This is sadly how she decides to do this, and so I get it. I didn't pile on, and I hadn't read this book in 10, 15 years, so I had to go back and look at that again and go, oh, okay, yeah, okay. But anyway, I brought that up because some people were,
yeah,
I think, even there was a small movement to cancel Stephen King over that. I'm like, yeah, good
yeah,
luck with that.
yeah,
That's
right.
authors are not authors are going to write their truth as they see it. So I think clock on the wall. I got to move a little quickly, but I would say that it's a very scary book. I think to me, it's
Absolutely.
okay. Don't get mad, but I think it's overly long in places, but that's
Yeah,
King. He's indulgent and his editors can't do jack about it. So
absolutely. I would also recommend the miniseries from the 80s or 90s for nostalgic value.
yeah,
Tim
Tim
Curry is
Curry.
excellent. The movie, the miniseries is cheap feeling, but Tim Curry's excellent. It Chapter
Richard
One is
Thomas.
all those guys. They get John Ritter and
Yeah. Oh, John
Harry
Ritter.
Anderson, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the It Chapter One, the remake was excellent. By far the best of the cinema experiences. It Chapter Two was fine. What are you gonna do? I would like to highly recommend the audiobook read by Steven Weber. He
Oh,
doesn't
good.
read it. He doesn't read it. He's acting.
Oh, wow.
He's
All those
he's
characters.
he brings it. He brings it. That's probably it's probably one of the better audiobooks of all the Stephen King ones. This one is probably one of the best, and it's because of Steven Weber.
I got to listen to just his version of Pennywise in that case. I should listen to that. So,
Yes,
yeah, because Steven
yes,
Weber, I mean, and he did, I think he did a fine Jack Torrance in the miniseries that he did. I mean, I know it's not everybody's favorite, but I think he did a good
it
job
was
on that.
fine. It was.
Yeah.
He wasn't the problem with the movie or the miniseries.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. We better moving on. This is it. This is number one.
Oh man,
If I had to guess, if I had to guess, and I thought about this before because we chatted about you coming on and top 10 or something. I think I was kind of thinking it would either. I'm surprised that I'll be surprised if it's not one of two books. If it's not The Stand or Salem's Lot, I'll be surprised.
Well, you're gonna be surprised.
All right. Let me have it. What do we got here?
For what it's worth, The Stand would come in at number 13 for me.
Okay, very good. Very
Behind
good.
Hearts in Atlantis and Misery. Number one, and Salem's Lot's unfortunately not in my top 20, but it's an excellent book.
Yeah.
Excellent book.
Well, like you said, there's so many. They can't squeeze them all into the top.
They can't
10.
all be there.
No.
They can't all be there. And if you'd like, just quick aside here, if you really like Salem's Lot, you might find yourself liking the Dark Tower 5, Wolves of the Kala, because it kind of is a sequel in some ways. You might see a certain Father Callahan make an appearance.
Oh, really? Oh, now
he
look
might,
what you've done.
And he might even stick around for the 6th book in the series. I'm just saying, if that book, if Salem's Lot speaks to you, you might want to. That might be added motivation for you to check out the Dark Tower series.
That is added motivation. Well, okay, so
all right, my number one is the Dark Tower 4, Wizard and Glass.
Oh, holy cats! 2 from the Dark Tower.
Yes, I waited those 5 or 6 years. Here's a quick story for you. I waited those 5 or 6 years, and the book came out in 96 7, I believe, and excited, right? Finally going to get the resolution of that big old cliffhanger. And that was right about the time I had my brain tumor issues and I had surgery and stuff. I couldn't freaking read because my eyesight was all blurry. I couldn't, I had the book in my hands and I could not read it.
Oh my God. Well, that's where you ask your wife to read it to you.
Well, she wasn't my wife at the time.
Oh, that's right.
And she was in school still. So she was commuting between her place and my parents' place to see yours truly.
Wow.
Wizard and Glass. It resolves the cliffhanger from Wastelands. It does so in a way that is completely set up and completely logical from the Wastelands, but maybe you wouldn't have thought of. It brings the Dark Tower universe story in line with The Stand. They cross over into the world of The Stand for a bit. And the heart of the story is Roland the Gunslinger telling his quartet or group of a story from his youth. I'd say 3/4 of the book is him telling the story of how he met Susanna Delgado and the Big Coffin Hunters and what happened there. You meet his cohorts from his youth, Elaine and Cuthbert, and you get a heck of a story. Like I said, it's, Dark Tower is, Western, sci-fi, fantasy, horror,
which I love. Yeah, I love all that.
And this one's maybe a little bit of romance, a little love story here, and when all the story's all said and done, it gives you a little bit more, and you get to meet up with one of the big bad guys in the series, who also might have a connection to The Stand. But the heart of this story, this flashback, is it's the shit, man. It's so good. It's so good. On so many levels.
How many books in the Dark Tower series?
There are 8 books.
Are they all huge, each one of them? Like 500 pages or something?
The first one is smaller, but they get bigger, and 4 and 5 are really large. 6 is a little bit smaller, and 7's large. And then the 8th is kind of one he wrote that takes place between 4 and 5, and that one's a smaller one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh,
but you've got, 3,000-4,000 pages total, probably, between all of them.
Well, I mean, if you're enjoying a story, you don't want it to end. Yeah.
Also excellent on audiobook, read by either Frank Muller or George Goodell.
Oh, okay.
Depending on which book it is. Or Stephen King. He reads the Wind Through the Keyhole, which is the additional one.
Oh.
But yeah, no, the story, it's got so much. It's like I said, it's a little bit of everything. There's some intricacies about it that I appreciate. It gives you insight into Roland as a character, why he is the way he is, why he's this gruff, unpleasant person at times. It kind of humanizes him, which is nice 4 books in.
Right.
It's incredible. It's an incredible book. I don't know what else to say about it. This is absolutely my favorite Stephen King book.
Now, if you say, like, you had an extended list you made, are any other Dark Tower series in the extended list?
Maybe.
Okay.
I didn't go out of my way to place them.
Right. But you would include
maybe 11 through 12, but Wolves of the Kala, which is 5, might be the next one down. If I had to rank the Dark Tower books, it would be Wizard and Glass, Wastelands, which is 3, 5, which is Wolves of the Kala, 2, which is Drawing of the Three, probably the Gunslinger, the first one, then
Right.
7, the Dark Tower, and then the last one would be 6, Song of Susanna. That's the way I'd put them in, probably.
All right. Yeah. So
Um,
I'm disappointed that you didn't put On Writing in here. I mean, come on,
well,
man.
you know what? Yeah, honestly, it's a great book.
It
It's
is.
you know, if it could be,
Yeah,
it
it's
could be,
nonfiction, folks. If you don't, yeah,
in another in a parallel world, maybe it is. I mean, it is that good.
I
And
had the
I'm not a
audiobook.
writer. I do
Yeah,
too.
but you don't even have to be a writer. It's wonderful,
Oh,
and of course, it also
it,
tells about his surviving that horrific accident. And
and I don't want to hear about that damn doctor popping his eardrum. That's
oh, that
like,
part
fool me
again. Oh, I
once, shame
know.
on me.
And the babysitter with the eggs. Oh, ugh.
Yes.
Oh my God. Who would
Oh,
pow? And she would fart on him. Anyway, okay, so there's Michael's. If there's your top 10. So that was, I made notes here. 11/22/63, The Wastelands, The Shining, Pet Cemetery, Gerald's Game, Bag of Bones, The Dead Zone, Douma Key, It, and Wizard and Glass. I've read or I'm familiar with most all of them, but you've got me interested in the Dark Tower series. And we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask you real quick. Is there just and because you are the constant reader, and I'm not asking you to say anything crappy about Stephen King, okay? But is there one of his works that's just like, ugh, it's just I don't like it? Is there anyone that you dread reading again?
um, you know, there's a few that aren't the greatest. I'd say something like Roadwork. I don't care for. That's a Bachman book.
Right.
Um, Rage is not the greatest. I liked it more, and my like for it has decreased over the years. That one's out of print. That's about a kid who takes a gun to school.
Well, he doesn't want that one back out.
No. So if you got a copy of it, hang on to it tight, because they're out there, but they're not super easy to find.
Right.
Yeah, those two. The Tommy Knockers isn't great. I don't hate it. I like parts of it. There's a good story in there, but he was doing too much
blow
of everything.
Yeah.
There's a good story. There's a good story in there, but it's deep in there.
Yeah, I agree. And Cell, I didn't like Cell.
Cell is not good. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I do love.
Think of that one because that one I like. I don't see a good story in there necessarily. I think
I don't either.
Yeah.
I found it, but I would say I tell you what I'm very partial to though, and then we got to roll this out. But I love all his books of short stories. I just love them. I adore them. And I mean, from all the way from Skeleton Crew all the way up to, Full Dark, No Stars to, I mean, they're also
so you're lumping the short stories in with the novella collections when you say
basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just the shorter stuff. And I think he's actually very good at writing shorter length fiction. I think he's actually, I'm not saying he's better at it. I'm just saying he's very talented.
His novellas are excellent.
They
Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil, The Body, 1922.
1922. My God.
Even to be fair, Hearts in Atlantis, the story Hearts in Atlantis Hearts in Atlantis is a novella. That's really a collection, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's a good story. That spoke to me. So many good.
He is definitely worthy of rereading. But you truly are the constant reader. So what's next? What are you reading now? What are you looking forward to reading now that you're done with King for a while?
Actually, I'm rereading The Institute by Stephen King.
Oh my God.
But once I'm done with that, my next what I postponed all those years ago when I decided to take on, I was going to reread, and by reread I mean listen in audiobook form to the Pendergast series by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child.
Oh. Huh.
You might have seen a movie called The Relic back in the 90s.
Yeah.
It is based on the book, but not worthy of the book. The first book in the series, The Relic, because they decided to take one of the main characters, Pendergast, who's an FBI special agent, and they rolled him into a different character. So he's not even actually in the movie.
Huh.
Oops. Yeah, no, it's great. It's Pendergast is a special, like I said, special agent with the FBI. He's got some money and he has some leeway to investigate things that interest him. And he has unique skills he brings to the investigations, and he's interesting. He's interesting. Aloysius Pendergast.
Aloysius, what a great name. I
And
love
there
it.
are, I think, just under 20 books in the series. So that's going to be my next big
Just
reread,
20.
I
Huh?
guess.
Well, that sounds
Ish.
great. Yeah. One last thing about King that I forgot to mention. I enjoyed, I'm from Oklahoma. I enjoyed The Outsider,
Yes.
which was based in Oklahoma. I enjoyed most of the HBO limited series. There's aspects of it I don't care for. But I was entertained by it and interested in it. But where does The Outsider rank with you? Is that kind of a middling one with you, or is it pretty?
You know what? I think I had that in my top 17, if I'm being honest with you. Let me just pull that list up again, and I would say it's 16. I had it number 16.
Yeah. What about Mr. Mercedes? Are you a fan of those?
I love that series. If you haven't seen the TV show, check it out. Because
I have seen the TV. You know who turned me on to that? Jason McIntyre, our mutual friend. Yeah,
I tell you what, you'll never think of Captain Janeway the same way again after you've seen season 3.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I cannot even. Yeah, folks, we're not going to go there, but
that's not even Stephen King. She wasn't even in the book.
She wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they do the books a little out of order, but yeah, you'll never think of. You won't just see coffee in the nebula. You'll see other things in the nebula now instead of coffee.
You know, that was a great show. Brendan Gleeson was excellent. Justine Loop as Holly Gibney. I prefer her over.
I totally prefer her. Yes.
Not that Outsider Holly Gibney was bad.
No, she's fine. But
Mr. Mercedes is more how I picture her.
Exactly.
I love the show. I know it got switched over to Peacock. If it does well enough on Peacock, we might get a 4th season.
Oh, that'd be so great. Brendan Gleeson should be, and I think the actress who plays Holly should both be award worthy for what they're doing there. And it's got the lovely Holland Taylor in it too. She's
also added for this TV show.
Series, right. Books. Not in the book.
Michael Zuffa, the guy who plays Jerome, is pretty solid too. The guy who plays Jerome,
he is good. He's very good. He's very good. Well, hey, listen. This has been fun. It's always fun talking to you and you and I could go on forever about stuff, but if anybody wants to take you to task for your list, is Twitter a good place to find you?
Sure. I mean, I'm willing to tell them they're wrong. That's fine. Zoofster, at Zoofster on all the socials. At Zoofster, ZOOFSTER.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes for you. And you know what, folks? I will go to mgopod.com and you'll find the show notes for this episode. And I may just pick a few of these from the top 10 list and give you links to Amazon. And of course, if you click those links and buy, a little bit of that money goes in my pocket to help keep the show going. So I hope you'll consider
Alex,
that.
I should ask you one last question before I go.
Sure.
And as usual, I have to say, when's the next book coming out, Alex?
Bless your heart. There's going to be a whole episode of me mea culpa telling you how I squandered this lockdown, but I've got I'm not gonna lie, I'm 13,000 words into this 8th book in the pilot series, and then us
slow people, how many pages is that?
Well, if you think there's 250 words per page, more or less, so 13,000 words.
Math.
Basically, I'll just say this: the book needs to be about 60,000 words, and I'm only about 13. Now, I will just say this: if every time I give you a date certain, I'm
not asking for a date, then I will a general.
I would say this: I'm actually turning back into it. I've got ideas on where to get out of the hole I was in, and I think mentally in a better spot because of COVID. I gave myself permission to not have to, write a novel.
Let me ask you this. Do you expect us to see it within the next 10 years?
Absolutely. You will see it in the
Excellent.
next
That's
10
what I
years.
wanted to hear.
You will
That's what I
see it.
wanted
It
to
will
hear.
not be published in my posthumous papers. You will definitely
Excellent.
see it. And you will be among the first to know. And thank you for asking. That's very kind of you.
Yes.
Michael
yes.
Zuffa,
I haven't asked in a while.
You haven't. You've been great. But I've got another reader, Tony, Miss Tony, who I adore. And she actually has my phone number. Long story on that.
Uh-oh.
But she texts me about every month. How are we doing? I'm just like, we are not doing well. But she's a doll. All right, Michael Zuffa, I've enjoyed it so much. Thanks for being here on Mysterious
Thank
Goings
you for
On and
having me,
sharing.
Alex. Always a
All
pleasure.
Right. You know what? We got to make sure Stephen King knows that his constant reader is on the show. Maybe we'll tag him one of these days, and he'll be like, "Oh, I better listen to that show and their opinions of my work." All right, thanks, Mike.
All right.
Thanks so much for listening to Mysterious Goings On. Don't forget we have a complete archive of all of our interviews, monologues, updates, live readings, dead readings. All of that stuff is available at mgopod.com. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the usual suspects. Please join us there. Again, don't forget, mgopod.com also has links where to find me on social media and how to get in touch in case you want to be a guest here on the show. Well, I think it's time that I move on for this week, but until next time, keep reading.